thousands of years ago. So long ago that humans had not even given names to things yet. There were no cities, no roads, no windows glowing with light at night. The world was dark, cold, and merciless. In the far north, where endless black forests stretched beyond sight, a small tribe lived near a frozen river. There were only 30 people, 30 humans trying to survive in a world that wanted to destroy them. Among them was a man named Arik. He was not the strongest hunter, nor the fastest, but he was known for something else. He noticed everything: the sky, the movement of animals, the direction of the wind, even the sounds trees made at night. And he knew this winter felt different. Weeks before it arrived, the birds disappeared earlier than usual. The deer migrated south too soon. Even the wolves had become more aggressive, as if every living creature could feel something terrible approaching. One night, Arak sat beside the fire with the elders of the tribe. Sparks rose into the dark sky. Children slept beside their mothers. One of the old men spoke quietly. "Cold is coming." Silence filled the air. Everyone understood those words. Back then, winter was not just a season. It was a test of survival. Entire tribes disappeared during the great winters. Some left to hunt and never returned. Others fell asleep and never woke up again. And the thing humans feared most was not hunger. It was the cold, because hunger hurts. But cold is deceptive. First, it makes you sleepy, then calm. Then it takes you slowly, without a scream. The next morning, the tribe woke to violent winds. The sky was completely gray, the air colder than ever before. Arik stepped outside the stone shelter and stared into the distance. Then he noticed something strange. Silence. Even the birds were gone. And suddenly, the snow began. At first, it fell softly. But within hours, the world became a white storm. The wind roared endlessly. Trees bent violently, and visibility disappeared completely. People rushed to gather the children. The great fire in the center of the camp weakened under the storm. One man shouted, "We must leave south now." But the tribe's elder shook his head. "The storm is faster than us." And in that moment, everyone understood the truth. They were too late. That night, no one slept. Mothers held their children tightly. Men sat around the fire, trying desperately to keep it alive. And Arak stared into the darkness beyond the camp. And he felt as though winter itself was watching them. 3 days later, the storm was no longer just a storm. It had become an entire world of snow. Hunting was impossible. The firewood was running out, and the little food they had left could no longer feed everyone. Hunger began changing people. Children stopped playing. The men became angry more easily, even the fire. The fire itself seemed tired. On the fourth night, the tribe woke to the sound of screaming, a woman crying. Everyone rushed toward one of the stone shelters, and there they found an old man lying against the wall. His eyes were open, but lifeless. He had not been attacked. He was not sick. He had simply fallen asleep, and his heart froze during the night. Silence spread through the tribe. The children became afraid. The men stared at the fire with growing fear. Back then, humans knew something terrifying. Sleeping in the cold could be a trap. As the body loses heat, a strange feeling of peace appears, as if the body quietly gives up. So the men began waking each other through the night. No one was allowed to sleep for long. But Eric, for the first time in his life, he felt true fear, not for himself, but for his wife, Ela, and their small son. The child coughed constantly. His tiny body weakened day after day. Ela leaned close to Arak and whispered, "He will not survive if we stay here." Arak looked at the storm outside, then at his son, and he knew she was right. But leaving meant death, too. Outside, the cold itself could kill. The wind alone could tear the skin apart. And yet, that night, Arak made a decision that would change everything. Before sunrise, Era quietly woke his wife. "We leave now." Ella looked at him with fear. "Where?" But Arak did not answer, because he did not know. All he knew was this: staying meant dying slowly. He wrapped the child in thick animal fur, took an old spear and the last pieces of firewood. Then the three of them slipped away from the sleeping tribe in silence. The storm had weakened slightly, but the cold was worse than ever. They walked through deep snow for hours. Every step drained their strength. The child trembled inside the fur. Ela struggled to breathe. Hours passed, and there was nothing around them except endless white. Even the sky had disappeared. Only snow remained. Then, suddenly, Arak heard something behind them. He turned quickly. Footprints. Wolves. They had been following them for some time, but they did not attack. Wolves, during winter, understand patience. They simply wait for weakness. The family kept moving forward, but exhaustion crushed them more with every step. Then, Isla collapsed into the snow. She could no longer stand. Arak rushed toward her. Her body shook violently. Her lips had turned blue, and in a barely audible voice, she whispered, "Leave me, take the child." But Arak refused immediately. He lifted her with all the strength he had left, and behind them, the wolves continued following silently. As night approached, Arak found a small cave hidden between the rocks. He quickly carried Isla and the child inside. Then he searched desperately for anything that could burn, but the world itself was frozen. Finally, a tiny fire came to life, a weak light in an ocean of darkness. The three sat close beside it in silence. The child slept in his mother's arms, and Eric stared at the flames as though they were the last living thing on earth. Then he heard it, a long howl outside the cave. The wolves had arrived. Glowing eyes appeared near the entrance. One pair, then two, then five. They were waiting for the fire to die. Hours passed slowly, and the fire began to weaken. There was almost nothing left to burn. Then Ella did something Arak would never forget. She removed the final piece of fur covering her body and threw it into the flames. The fire exploded with light. The wolves stepped back, but Ayla began trembling even harder. Arak moved closer to her, wrapped his arms around her tightly, their child between them. Three bodies, trying to create enough warmth to survive one more night. Outside the cave, the storm raged until dawn. But when the first gray light appeared in the sky, the wolves were gone. The wind had faded. Arak slowly opened his eyes. He was still alive. His son, too. But Ayla was completely still, quiet, as if she were only sleeping. Arak stared at her for a long time. Then he understood. She had given them her final night. He sat there silently as the pale morning sun rose over the snow. Then he held his son close and slowly walked out of the cave. And on that frozen morning, humanity continued its journey, as it always had, surviving even after the cruelest nights imaginable.